Hi there, everyone. We are back with the stream, and we're just gonna get right back into it with the next game. Make sure to use the ProtoPlay hashtag. Make sure to check us out on Twitter and join our Discord. And any external links you need for that will be in the panels below. So just use those panels. You can click on them, and they're gonna take you to your desired destinations. And yeah, sit comfortably, and let's jump right into it with our next game. And the next studio we're going to be looking at is Infinity 27 Design Studio. Exciting, exciting. Fancy names? Let's see some fancy games. Hello, hello.
Hello, Bartek. Nice to meet you.
Hi there, how you doing? What's your name? How should I address you?
Just Dan's fine, thank you.
Okay. Did you say Dan?
Yes.
Okay. Because your Discord name kind of caught me.
Right,
off
yes.
guard. Okay. Okay. So Dan, tell us about your game. Tell us about your team. Go on.
Yeah, sure, thank you. So we're creating Samsara. So this is a game that's based around Buddhist canon. I like Dark Souls games, so it takes a lot from Dark Souls, but we kind of want to do it with a twist. So our core mechanic is around death and rebirth. So we're basically letting the player play through the game, and instead of kind of coming up against the wall of death, we're allowing them to be reborn as different types of characters so they can experience the game in different ways. We're going to try and do this in a smart way that kind of tracks your progress and how you play, so that we can spawn you as a character that is kind of more in your play style, and that has different consequences to how you interact with the world and the NPCs within that world.
That's really interesting. That's actually so cool. A very cool concept for allowing replayability in your game, I would say. Because you mentioned,
sure.
Sorry, because you mentioned that you are like reborn as different characters each time you die.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's amazing. So, in terms of genre, what are we looking at? Have you pinpointed any genre? You mentioned Dark Souls,
Sure.
of course.
So, yeah, we're looking for kind of action adventure RPG. We're trying to position ourselves in a way that kind of differentiates the game from other games in the genre. So we don't have a specific genre, but hopefully we can create something new and unique. Obviously, that's very hard, so it's going to take a lot of time. So yeah, we're kind of iterating through that to find what the core gameplay loop is and how you would describe that. But we're making good progress so far.
I see. Nice. What was sort of touching back on the Dark Souls? Was that your main inspiration for the game? I'm seeing a lot of RPG elements. Sort of, it's almost giving me an MMORPG feel from the gameplay. So, what was the inspiration for it?
Yeah, sure. So Dark Souls, kind of, I guess, in regards to combat, we want to develop it a bit further. So it's more like Bloodborne. It's less strategic, but it's more visceral. To kind of make a contrast between moments of exploration, which would be quite peaceful, and then obviously combat, the conflict, we want to be quite drastic and like visceral, as I've said.
I see. That's very interesting approach. That's awesome. What are you most happy with? Given where you managed to get with the time you had, was the most polished, the best part of your project?
Yeah, sure. So kind of the trailer that we have here is from a couple of weeks ago. This is when we had the kind of the underlying mechanics and the systems in place. So visually, it isn't where the game is at the moment. So you will be able to access the demo, which is kind of more visually polished. I would say that isn't our main concern, because we kind of want to do this for the long term. So we knew going in that Transfuser itself wasn't long enough. So we had to, and something I'm really proud of, we had to get the team to be cohesive in creating the foundation of the game from which we build everything on. So I'm really happy with the team and how they have came together to build this foundation, but also how they've managed to work remotely across different like a distributed team, which is really quite difficult.
I see. Yeah, certainly. Yeah, the game is looking good, but just like as Dan mentioned, the game has gotten further already ever since the video has been uploaded. So make sure to check the game out! Exclamation mark Infinity 27 Design Studio to grab their socials and any links that may lead you to the game. And back to our conversation. Now, on the side of things that you would want to change, if you had the opportunity, tweak any things or maybe make a different design choice prior to where you got the game now?
Yeah, sure. So art style specifically, the team that we built was mainly programmers because we had the challenge of this of the underlying systems that we had to create. So in regards to the art style, we had one 3D artist, and she's done very well to produce kind of the characters because we know that the game is going to be based around these characters that you were born as. And then we used a lot of kind of Quixel assets and freely available assets or assets that we bought to create the rest of the environment. So we kind of have the look of the environment, sorry, not the look, but the kind of the content of the environment, but we really want to develop the style. We want to take that photorealistic style and we want to polish it with some kind of semi-realistic and fantastical elements. So yeah, we're going to take a lot of the elements back through, specifically the Quixel mixer tools and kind of stylize everything. So yeah, we are working in the Unreal ecosystem, which means that we can iterate quite quickly because the tools are quite powerful. So yeah, that's what we would like to improve.
You mentioned stylized. You very much got my attention there. Are you looking to? Are you really thinking realistic or more fantasy? You know, almost like the likes of World of Warcraft in terms of art style.
So this is the thing, and we haven't specifically found an art style that we'd like to mimic. Per se, what we're trying to do is develop our own art style. This isn't something that we're able to share at the moment because it's going to take a long time to develop it. But we would certainly want it to be eye-catching, and we want to take kind of, because we're using photogrammetry assets, we want to take the elements of the realism in the environment. So it's not too far removed from reality, and we want to kind of mix in some fantasy elements. So one of the things here that you're dealing with, the kind of canon that underlines the story and things, is that it's all supposed to explain the world that we live in from the Buddhist perspective. But obviously you have these fantastical things, you have creatures and spirits and things like that. So we certainly want to take that that colorful approach to the environments and characters. Yeah,
definitely. Touching a bit on the reincarnation concept, does it help with progression of the game? Is it something that player has to go through to progress, or can they just as well go through a game playing as just one character because they are so good they never die?
Yeah, true. So I guess both would be true in that instance. Obviously, we want the players to be challenged, and we want them to be able to face the possibility of death and loss without the penalty that you get in those other games where it's just kind of you keep hitting that brick wall until you progress. We want every death to be an opportunity to progress. But also, we want it so that if you are skilled enough, say you're reincarnated as kind of a demon-like character and you're very good at combat, you basically, if you can maintain that level of skill, then yes, you can conceivably complete the game as just one character. But yeah, we certainly want players to be able to face face losing the character that they have, so that they can try out different characters, try out different styles as they progress.
Speaking of different characters, different styles, so do they have sort of, does each character have its own way of playing, let's say?
That's correct, yeah. So we have planned for 8 characters in total. So we're showcasing two. We're showcasing the female, who is the human representation, and also the blue character, who is the Naraka, as it's called, which is a hellish being. So the hellish being, he plays more like kind of an aggressive role, higher strength, more stamina, does more damage, can take more damage. So kind of like your warrior class. And then the female, she is kind of going to be your flexible class, where she can do a little bit of everything well. And then we have some extra characters. If you play the demo that we put up, you'll be able to play it as the Deva as well. And Deva is kind of a demigod character, so she is a specialist in kind of healing and debuffing the enemies to kind of approach the gameplay in a different way.
I see. Awesome. It seems very well thought out and quite organized concept in terms of what you got and where you're heading with it as well. I'm gonna throw some questions at you from the chat. How
Sure.
does reincarnation fit into the game mechanics? I believe you touched on that just now somewhat, but is there anything you want to add?
Sure. So I guess I should share a little bit about how we're doing the reincarnation. So we don't want things to be necessarily very binary. Choices games can sometimes end up as just Paragon Renegade. What we're trying to do is, and then there's a law written behind this as well, from the Buddhist canon, like when you are performing actions in the game, we're going to try and track those actions. So it's not just combat actions, it's going to be interactions with NPCs, how much you explore the environment and such. And over 8 different statistics, we are determining what you will be reborn as. So yeah, if you become very aggressive, if you take a lot from the world without necessarily helping, then your karma will track negative.
Ooh.
And we will kind of reincarnate you that way. But it's not necessarily just you are getting points positive or negative. You'll actually gain both positive and negative karma. And those play out at the point which you die. Those play out to determine what you'll be reborn as. You won't always be reborn as a different being. Obviously, that will be a bit of a pain to just constantly be cycling between different characters. But kind of once you reach a threshold, then you will be reborn as the specific character that fits your playstyle.
Yeah, that's really creative. That's super cool. That's really nice.
Yeah.
I feel like it adds that a bit of RNG into your gameplay, which these days makes the games pretty fun, you know? It's almost like playing a roguelike game where you open a loot box and you don't know what item you get. And in this case, especially for someone new, because I feel like people who played this game before, they are gonna know, because you mentioned the karma, on which I'll kind of want to touch a bit more about. They are gonna know what actions can give them what results. But yeah, people who are just starting the game will definitely be encouraged to fail. It's almost weird to say, but it will give them the incentive to play to find out what character they might get next, you know? And they'll not feel bad about failing because they get almost like rewarded with new content, if that makes sense.
Yes, that's true, and that is the intention. Kind of for the players to see death not as this annoyance. Kind of the death mechanic is very. I would say it's one of the less innovative parts of gameplay. Though this year I've seen a lot of innovation in the death mechanic. People are doing some very interesting things with it. So yeah, we're hoping that this will lead players to get a perspective of perseverance, not necessarily giving up just because something doesn't go the way that you want it to, and finding the opportunities in failure instead of just seeing it as a wholly negative thing.
Yeah, no, that definitely. Even though you were inspired by Dark Souls, I feel like you have tuned down the frustration that comes from playing the game. Because on one hand, it's like, darn it, you know, I didn't beat this boss again. But hey, I got this new character I can try now, you know? So it's quite a roller coaster. Or at least, I suppose it must be when you are playing the game. We got a question from Greg from Grim Titan Studios, which I don't think has been answered, but it's quite funny. He said, what is the criteria you use for determining what is your next avatar? And do you get more range skills if you die in combat a lot?
Yeah, good question, Greg. I did actually miss the first part of that a little bit, but in regards to the range spells, no, not necessarily. The death mechanic, if you die a lot, it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be given kind of an easy mode to complete the game. So we'll look at the kind of the approach that you've taken. Necessarily, you can still die a lot if you run into combat and kind of butt heads with the enemy. If you're very aggressive in that approach, instead of trying to kind of sneak around or anything like that, then you're more likely to gain karma that is negative, in a sense that it will rebirth you as a kind of furious warrior, one of the hellish beings, or one of the other characters. What was the first part of the question there, sorry?
It was about criteria that you actually use for determining what the next avatar will be. I believe that was asked before you introduced us to karma.
Sure.
So,
so the karma itself kind of breaks down over 8 different attributes. I don't want to share them specifically at this point. As you say, kind of we want players to, the first time they play, to kind of get the excitement of finding out, this type of action leads to this type of rebirth. So yeah, there are 8 different statistics. I mean, to be honest, I can't necessarily hide them completely, because if you read a little bit about Buddhism, you'll find there is 8 defining attributes kind of in regards to your actions and your speech and things like that. So yeah, I'll leave that one as a mystery, sorry.
Ooh, that's all right. Mystery creates interest in the project, so
yeah.
It's good to keep some secrets from whether it's gameplay or lore things. Okay, back to our business related questions. More on the serious side now. So
Sure.
has your development, did it change once you enrolled onto Transfuser and decided to participate in ProtoPlay? How did that influence the scope of your game? Did you have to make any changes? Because your game is looking like a very ambitious project right now.
It is, yes. So we do know we have a long way to go. Transfuse has been pivotal in basically starting the process. So we're looking at about 2-year development cycle. So yes, we are still trying to narrow down elements of the game, because you very quickly get carried away with, yes, we could create this, we could do this. However, by having this 3-month period where we are working as a team towards a common goal, it has given us perspective on, right, what is the core elements that are most important to the game. And then it's let us focus on those. So that's kind of what all of the programming work has been on. And then we have time now. I mean, we're sitting at the moment in a studio. So we have managed to get ourselves to the point where we've done a little bit of work for hire in the meantime, and we've got a studio here. So yeah, there's people sitting quietly in the background, and yeah, we're continuing actually to build the game like as we speak. And Monday morning's not going to be any different for us. We're going to continue with this.
That's awesome. That's extremely. Yeah. Also, it's quite motivational to other teams out there. I think you're quite lucky to have everyone in one place as well, for the development.
Unfortunately, we didn't actually have everyone in one place, just the majority of people are in this area. So yeah, we still have people who are distributed. They're leaving the project to follow the things that they're doing, such as masters and own projects, but they are going to return, or may potentially return in the future to kind of help at a later point in the process, because they've put a lot of the groundwork down. And I mean, when you build a team, the most important thing is the knowledge of the people working together, not necessarily the product. So yeah, we're trying to build the studio, not just kind of the game project itself. So yeah, you have to balance those things, and positives and negatives to that.
I see. Touching back on the game and your inspiration, who is it aimed at? Who would you like to give your game a try?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
It's simply what's the target market for the game, you know? Just who would you like to see play your game?
Sure, yeah. So from some research that we did before Transfuser, the target audience was originally 25 to 40-year-old males, people who play the Dark Souls games, they have limited free time, they have a high disposable income, usually traits such as reflective, mindful, self-improvement. However, when we went kind of through the Transfuser process and we got the feedback from all these wonderful people who'd work in the industry or who work alongside the industry, we quickly found that our aim for 1,000 true fans in that respect of these types of people, there's actually quite a lot of different people who are interested in the game. So sometimes it's females interested in the game. Sometimes it's people who are younger. Sometimes it's people who are older. And we've had to basically look at our research and say there's a lot of assumptions here. So we do have ongoing research at the moment where we're trying to, I mean, the sign up on our website is one of those things. We're trying to basically find who the main, how do you say it, the main personas for our game are, like the reason why they're playing, how they are not just demographically as in age and gender, but also psychographically, like why do these people play these games? Are our assumptions about the main mechanic appealing to people who play these games? So yeah, there's a lot of research there, but yeah, we came in with an idea of who the core audience was, but we're quickly finding that it's more diverse than we thought.
I must say you gave a lot of thought to your research on your target market. I think that's the most thought out, one of the most thought out target market research that I've heard today, which I find actually interesting how much focus you've put into it, which I'm sure will benefit towards the exposure of your game, right? So yeah, just wanted to touch on that. Great job on that. It sounds great. You're really thinking about who you want to see play the game, you know?
Yeah, I think it's critical. So yeah, I mean, a lot of the people who've presented today and who will present in the future, like, I think that is the ultimate thing. It's like really find the audience, because games are great, like artistically, but yeah, it is the business of games. And I think, yeah, as much as I like creating things in Unreal, sometimes you have to go and actually talk to the people who you think will buy your game. Yeah, so I guess if I have any tips, it would be that.
Yeah, stay in touch with your audience. Understand your audience as well, I suppose.
Yeah.
About audience, what about feedback? Have you had people play test your game much? Did you receive any crucial feedback that made you go like, we should change this. This is very important to improve our game, you know?
Yeah, so the team internally, we have been doing feedback on the game as we play it. Externally, we haven't shown the game past the demo that we're about to put out, but we have shown the game to obviously the people who we have access through Transfuser, which we're very thankful for, and they have kind of identified places where there's improvements or there's concerns, and we've took that feedback on board and kind of considered, is this feedback something that we can act on now to kind of save ourselves pain later, or is it something that we have to kind of accept is not perfect with the game, and like how are we going to address that going forward?
I see. Yeah, it's definitely important to keep in mind, but I suppose that sort of it ties into pretty much into your research of your target market, right?
Sure.
Because the way you sort of described how you try to understand your players, that in a way is already you getting feedback, right?
True, yeah. I think you can do, I mean, it is limited, what we've done so far. You can do secondary research and primary research, and it's nice to talk to people, but until the players get the game in their hands, which I'm hoping people will do over the course of the weekend, is that we really don't know what the things that people are saying are the things that matter once they actually get in the game, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So what can we expect from the game in the future months, years, or just tell us about the future post Transfuser and ProtoPlay.
Excellent. Yeah. So we're going to put out the demo, and then we're going to work hard from now until 6 months. By March, we're hoping to have a polished vertical slice, something that we can take to Kickstarter. The reason that we're choosing that is because we want to make sure that we have traction behind us before we go to a publisher. And what we're going to do there is look for matched funding to kind of reduce the risk for the publisher. Obviously, we'll have to accept that we're an upstart studio. We don't have an established name or brand or anything like that. So yeah, we want to make sure our market research isn't just on paper, that it's backed up by people who will pay for the game, who will fund the game in some way, and then match that with a publisher to meet our ambition, because a 2-year development cycle is going to be quite expensive. So we want to make sure that we're realistic as best we can be.
Yeah, you were right on the. We were right on point with the question because someone just asked in the chat about the roadmap of the game and any key milestones you're wanting to reach, and I'm pretty sure you just answered that. So
yeah, that's the key milestone that's kind of in our mind at the moment. Yeah, after the demo, it is that 6-month point in March where we want to make sure it's as polished as possible and fun to play.
Yeah, no, certainly you got a very, very innovative, I would say, theme at your hands.
Thank you.
At least it's coming from me. I play a lot of games. Maybe there is some I haven't played with this particular theme, but I've never seen this before, so good job. It makes for a really interesting gameplay, and from design point of view, I would say you really have a lot of freedom, and it's probably very fun as well, trying to develop and discover what all these characters could be like to play, after you are reincarnated. So a lot of design flexibility there. Yeah, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, it is key to stress it is like an iterative process, like you say. As we're designing the game, we're also finding out what the game is kind of telling us in regards to like how these characters play and how things interact. So yeah, being flexible. It's great to kind of have an original vision and to try and deliver that hard. But I think based on feedback and also just when you play the game, like, is that the best thing to do? I think a lot of fun games have came from times where things haven't necessarily went to plan, but they found something better kind of as they were building the game. So we'll see eventually.
I see. I have just linked in the chat your website and your Twitter, so if people want to find out more about your game. The game is called Samsara, correct?
That's correct, yes.
So guys, this game is Samsara and the studio is Infinity 27 Design Studio. And if you want to find out more, make sure to follow them, make sure to check out their website. The game has a lot of potential and I'm just looking forward to its development. And our interview is coming to a close very soon. Anything else you would like to say? Any shout outs? Go for it.
Yeah, sure. So I guess I would like to thank my team really, because it is quite strange to have an idea for a game, to have it realized over time. Kind of you need that team and you need people you can trust. So yeah, Alex, Laura, Ebony, and also had some freelancers who did some great work with helping us understand a lot of things. So Stefan and Nathan as well. Sorry, I'm terrible with names.
That's all right, me too.
But yeah, I mean, if you are interested in this concept and you want to kind of track our journey, if you can visit infinity27.com/Samsara and just stick your details in there, and we will message you as well in regards to kind of future preview builds and things like that.
Wonderful, exciting. Getting a lot of involvement with community, which is great for your game. Awesome. Okay, thank you so much for the interview. It was wonderful to talk to you about your game. Really excited to see where it gets in the future months. and I'm pretty sure you're gonna have something amazing to show us in 2 years.
Excellent, thank you. I just want to say
Yep.
thank you to Transfuse and UK Games Fund for making this possible to start. So, yeah, and thanks, Sportech. The pleasure's been mine.
Absolutely, thank you so much. Okay, take care. And we are gonna transition to our short break. This is our opportunity for me and you guys have a bit of a stretch, grab any snacks you need, and we're gonna be right back with another team and another game. So stay tuned, and we'll be back very, very shortly.